Welcome everyone to Geeks.com. We are back with more game reviews. Justin here, and welcome home, Ashley. How are you?
Hello, doing good. How are you?
I'm great. And folks, we are going to be doing a joint review because we both played this game that we were highly anticipating, this visual novel dating sim game called Date Everything. And as always, we give you a brief synopsis. This is going to be a review, but also a discussion. So this one might run a little bit longer than our usual reviews because it's also like kind of a mini podcast episode talking about the game. And because we want to get in a little more detail. But here's a brief synopsis. Date Everything is a sandbox dating simulator set in the comfort of your own home, featuring 100 fully voice acted dateable characters. And they're not joking. 100 dateable characters, 100 voice actors. Let the romance flow between your bed, literally, smoke alarm, literally, and overwhelming sense of existential dread, literally. Are you ready to date everything? Now, let's first talk about the story because the story is how you pretty much shape it. So, overview with the story, no spoilers, of course. You play protagonist, which you get to name because you get to choose your gender. So it's up to you whatever you decide to do. But you wake up and you are going to your job. I'll set the premise for you. You're going to the job, you're working, and you are fired. Later on, you are approached by some guy who runs this company who gives you this glasses that allows you to interact with your household items, appliances, and see it uses a great use for my English majors out there. It uses a great use of personification. So all these items have personality, and you are able to become friends with them, make them enemies, or romantic partners. And that's pretty much the setup of this Date is Everything. There's a little bit more, but we're not going to get into that because that's spoiler territory. But overview, you kind of your interactions will shape, and depending on who you decide to date, who you be friends with, and stuff like that, shapes your story a little bit. So, Ashley, of course, without any spoilers, what did you think before we start talking about the characters? Who do we start talking to? Who do we date, and things of that nature?
Um, I like it. I like the premise of it. I also really, really enjoy the character art and how each object has its own sort of outfit and personality that matches what they are. And a lot of their names are puns. And even though and some names you wouldn't think like, wait, is that really what it is? But then when you closer look at it, you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense why they're named this way. And when he said that there was like over like 100 characters, he was not kidding. And the amount of squeals that I had when I noticed or recognized a lot of voice actors that were also in this game too was a really good treat.
This, and I believe you said this earlier before we started recording, like a couple of weekdays back. This is like the Avengers for English dub. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is like assembled. Like if you are an anime head, if you are a video game head and you love English dub, chances are your favorite actor from the English dub, whether it's an anime, animation, or video game voiceover work, does a cameo or in this game. I mean, just to name a few of the heavy hitters, of course, we have Troy Baker, we have Laura Bailey, we have Ashley Johnson, just to name a few. I mean, Deborah Wilson's in this as well. So it's always funny because I'm not as good as recognizing voices as Ashley because Ashley's a beast with that. So for me, like the couple of voices that I did recognize, I was just like, okay, I'm looking for Ashley Johnson. Who's her character? Where is she at? And when I found, I was like, that's Ashley Johnson. And for me, it was just like, it's so amazing how the developers and the team was able to get all these voice actors for this one particular project. I was just amazed by it.
Yeah, and there were a couple who I there were a lot that I didn't know voice actor wise. There were a few that I was like, oh, I definitely know that voice. But then there were some that I had no idea. Um, so if you find Troy, let me know because the voice that came out of this man's mouth I was not expecting. And I just think it's ironic the object that he is.
Oh yeah, when I found Troy Baker, I was like, oh wow, okay.
It's very ironic, and I think they did that as also maybe as a personal joke. And again, we don't know because the developers and the creators of this, um, the the leads on this are voice actors themselves. So we have like Robbie Damon, um, we have Ray Chase, and we have Max Middleman. And so they created this game and they created this game company for themselves. And to be honest, I don't know how this came about or anything like that, but I'm glad that it did. And I feel like it's such a good subversion of the, the visual novel trope of like you have these direct paths. You only have what, maybe 3 to 5 guys or gals to romance. And then and then you play along with that, and then that's really it. And with this, it gives a lot of variety for sure.
Yeah,
There are,
and
yeah.
yeah, and the thing about that too is, well, since we're on the topic of voice acting, we'll start off with that before we get into graphics, gameplay, and stuff like that. The voice acting is definitely the highlight of this. The performances are absolutely top tier, amazing. This is a funny game, but I was actually surprised of how dramatic certain characters get if you decide to romance them and start to learn some of their backstories. And I was actually surprised, and we'll get into this a little bit later when it comes to the gameplay, because they do have this thing. We'll touch on this in a bit, where you have this thing where you can choose. I could say, kind of think of it like content control. You can choose the level of content because me, I went balls to the walls. Like I was just like, no, I want this completely unfiltered when it comes to dialogue and everything else, while Ashley went more of a more calmer route where her experience is different than mine. So we'll talk about that in the gameplay. But in terms of the voice acting, man, I was just blown away. Performances were just top notch. Amazing, amazing job when it comes to the sound quality of this particular game. And I thought the performances are great. Like you'll be surprised what your favorite voice actors, what characters they were. It's a lot of inside jokes as well, I guess, especially when it comes to AI, because that's one of the
Oh, yeah.
AI jokes in here when it comes to actors and things of that nature. So
Well,
they did.
it's not even a joke. I don't know if I should say it because it's
Yeah,
spoilery.
it's a kind of a spoiler, but
Yeah.
there's something about AI in here, and it's taken seriously. But there's one moment in the game when you get into it, you tell they're like cracking jokes on it and making a little bit of light of it. But it was just like I said, the voice acting, folks, was good. But let's talk let's get into it because you're probably wondering how is the gameplay for me. I'll go first and then I'll pass it to Ashley. Now, I played this game without the like control filter, and the reason why they did that is because they're very conscious of today's what era and market we're in. You know, there are some people that like I'm gonna say there's some people who are more sensitive to certain subject matters than others. So they wanted to they wanted to really cater this game to everybody so everyone can pick up and play. So for those people who might be more sensitive to certain subject matters, you have a filter that won't happen, you know. So for me, I'm not someone who's easily triggered or riled up or whatever or not sensitive to certain subject matters. So I went fully in. And plus I wanted to go fully in anyway. For my experience playing the game, there are a lot of sexual innuendos in this, and I was surprised how sexual this game actually is when it comes to the dialogue. There's one character that will be a minor spoiler, and it's kind of obvious because it's the bed. If you build a relationship and start talking to your bed, the bed has so much sexual freedom in this. Like the bed is basically anything or anybody, it doesn't matter. And the bed believes in an open relationship. It's definitely non-monogamous. And I laughed my ass off with that because it was just like, okay, of course the bed is just gonna be like, yo, I'm down for whatever. It's the bed. But you go to different characters and more characters are more reserved. Like I was talking to the laptop. There are, and I'm sorry for a little minor spoiler with this one too. The laptop has jokes when it comes to your fingers because you use your fingers to type. So
Oh
there,
no.
yes. So the laptop has a lot of flirtation when it comes to your fingers, or oh, you press this way, or you know how to. So this, like I said, there's so many sexual jokes and references in here, which I was actually surprised. But Ashley, you had a different experience compared to me.
Yeah, so I also loved the way how they integrated it. So with certain objects, they talk about certain things, especially relationship wise, that they're like, if you're okay with it, go ahead. And I decided since Justin was going all out, I decided, well, let me be the eyes and ears of those who may not want that type of thing. And so what they'll do is they'll she'll ask you the person that guides you throughout this whole thing asks you, hey, so this person they're really so I'll give an example. I guess I'll give you two of the objects that are in the game. So you have the hamper and you have the clothes that are in the hamper. And the person comes in and says, hey, so this is a very toxic relationship, and this person talks about certain things in this type of manner that may not be good for you. Are you okay with going through it? And with that, I was okay going through that type of relationship. With another one, it was the coat hanger, ironically. No, it wasn't a coat hanger. I'm sorry. It was another object was a triangle. I won't say where you will find her, but there's a like a musical triangle that you can find in the house. And with her, it was like her content warning was about she takes bullying and makes it funny. Like it's like basically like verbal abuse and stuff like that. She subverts it and tries to make it funny so that it's not as glaring or as problematic. And I was like, oh no, absolutely not. So when they give you the choice of would you like to do that or not, I said, no, I'm good. I'll skip it. So in the game mechanics, um you have friendship, you have love, and then you have hate. So if you have friendship, that object is your friend. So with each choice that you make, or like with each result of the relationship, you won't go outside of those bounds. So you have to kind of be cognizant of like, if I want to remain friends with this person, what's the dialogue do I need to make for that? If I want to be in love with this person or this object to be in love with me, da da da. And like, if you really want someone to really hate you, then what's the most possible answers that you can get? And with this triangle, I immediately said no and immediately went to hate. So, my speedrunners out there, if you want to speed date everything and get like a hateful ending, you can totally do that if you wanted to. um, but I just thought that that was it was a good mechanic to have, and especially to like if you're not into visual novels all that much, or like sometimes visual novels can't take it to a step to the extreme without warning anybody what's happening. It's kind of like if you're reading a novel or a book and all of a sudden they get into a really explicit scene. You're like, where did that come from? No warning. So I'm glad that they gave warnings in this. Um, and so with my gameplay, it was just I liked it. I liked all of the dialogue that I had with all the objects. I also got 10 more objects more than Justin at this point. So I don't know what objects he picks to interact with, and he doesn't really know what objects I picked to interact with. So I think it's also a cool thing too. If you wanted to be like this, like date night experience, um, what other people picked as like their love interest or as their hateful relationship or as their friendship. So that was just for me. And then going into the mechanics too, kind of like how if you ever played Persona games, how you do certain activities and do different things, and you get allotted points to your personality. It's the same thing with this. However, you don't get those points unless you get to friendship, love, or hate
Yeah.
relationship. So a lot of the options that you want to choose are locked because you have not grown out that personality yet. So keep that in mind when you are going through your playthrough of the everything.
And also,
Yeah,
there are some limitations. Like you can
yeah,
only talk to the one person once a day. It's the same person. You can't talk to the same person because they give you at least 5 hearts, right?
yeah.
So you can only talk to 5 objects per day, which is kind of it might be a turnoff for some folks because it's so limited at that point, and you can't talk to the same person twice in a day. So it's like you can't talk to them in the day and then talk to them at night. So only once a day. Otherwise, you have to wait to the next day in order to continue whatever you left off with when it comes to that conversation. And that for me, it was just like, but what if I just wanted to just focus on this person? But I guess it would have been just thinking it from a developer standpoint, I guess that is more encouraging for you to go talk to other characters instead of just one person just focusing on one person.
And
So
plus, I mean, the game is date everything.
yeah,
So I think they don't want you to feel guilty about going to different people
yeah.
each and every day type of thing.
Some flaws I did find, a guy who plays visual novels a lot. It is very disappointing. This part here is that once you get the person to fall in love with you, that's kind of it for
Hmm.
that character. There isn't anything afterwards to build a relationship. Like you get them, and for example, I got to the point where the bed and I were in a relationship. So I was like, okay, maybe we can go on dates or, continue talking. The only option I got after I got that relationship with the bed was just kissing or just wait till later to kiss. And that was it. And it just kept coming back every day to see if there was something new. It was just, no, it's just kissing. So it's like once you get to that point, there's nothing else to do with that particular character that you got into a relationship with or romance. It's like, okay, it's just designed for you to keep going until you either have everyone hate you or balance a friendship or relationships, and that's pretty much it. Um,
Yeah,
it,
it's also the same thing with hate because I went try to go back to an object that I wanted to romance and his storyline, I was like, oof. I'm glad that you hate me because yeah, no. But I tried to go back, and even with hate, you cannot, like, there's no conclusion with the relationship. Like, so, which, oof, real life sometimes. But if you go back to that person, like, the object that I was trying to romance and hated, he was like, I wouldn't even want you as like a friend or lover. And I was like, hey, I didn't even say anything wrong. It's your fault. And then I'm realizing I'm like, I'm talking to a freaking what is happening?
Yeah, and so I would say that's probably one of the major flaws. And for those who are thinking about it, it's something you might have to look into before you purchase the game is the fact that yeah, once you partner with with the characters, there's no additional dialogue after that. And I'm hoping later on maybe there'll be some more content coming because this is their first rodeo here when it comes to just making a game. But for visual novels, usually, yeah, I know that, but once you date somebody, you usually don't, visual novel games, there's nothing really afterwards. But for a game like this, yeah, I can see I would at least have wanted to do a little bit more interaction, but keep in mind that the whole story is being confined into the house. So there's so much things you could probably do. Like there's so much you could probably do with that particular story. It's not like a Pinocchio type of situation where they become a real person, things of that nature. But I will say this though the gameplay I did like, the fact that they have these glasses and you have to walk around. You do walk around, folks. It's not um just you texting. It's just not like a text constantly. No, you get to walk around, move around, look at the objects, talk to the objects. But that's pretty much the basis of the game. It's very simple, easy to pick up. But excuse me, I just wish they had a little bit more depth and more things to do besides just talking to the items.
Hmm. Yeah, and maybe they'll have DLC in the future. I'm not so sure. Already, this is a big game.
Yes.
Like the fact that, and again, it is their first game, and I have to say, like, for their first game, it's a pretty good one. And I would also have to say too that some of the dialogue gets a little long-winded.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'm kind of either speed reading through or just trying to get to the end of the interaction, unfortunately. And it's no fault to the dialogue because the dialogue is hilarious. It's just sometimes some of the objects take a very long time to
Yeah, the
like
pacing of this
get
at
through.
times,
Yeah.
great, 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 great port up, Ashley, because I forgot to say that. The pacing in this could have used a lot of work, especially for some characters. I mean, they go on, and you're like, can we please wrap this up? Like, there's certain characters I felt like I was talking to at least for 4 minutes, just going on, and then another character will come in that conversation and it will just go on. But credit to them, they made sure you got a lot of content to really build up these characters. But yeah, the pacing could have used some work here.
Yeah. I think it could have gone a little bit faster. Now, again, you have a lot of voice actors doing
Hmm.
a lot of dialogue. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just hearing some of the dialogue, I was like, whew, points off to you.
Yeah. So we're
That's a
gonna get
lot.
into the graphics, and then we'll get to the final grade because we already talked about sound, music. Oh yeah, music, folks. The music was pretty good. It's like it's what you expect from a visual novel game. Very melancholy, very easy to listen to. Really sets the tone for a lot of situations in the game. So I thought the music and the soundtrack was pretty stellar. Graphically, aesthetically, it's a visual novel. I do like the character designs. Like Ashley said earlier, some really nice character designs in here, especially for how things are drawn out and how each character looks to kind of do a tongue-in-cheek joke of that particular item.
Hmm.
So the bed will look like a certain way or be a certain size. The desk will be a certain way or a certain size. A computer laptop will look techy enough and things of that nature. So it does a good job when it comes to the art style, the color palette. It's a very bright looking game here. And I
Yeah.
thought the graphics was pretty good. I had no frame rate issues on my PC. And it's very hard to play a visual novel game. It would be very rare to play a visual novel game that has frame rate issues. I had no issues with my playing this game. I didn't see any drops.
Hmm. No, same thing with me. I didn't have any frame rate issues whatsoever. I like the contrast between when you put on the glasses all bright and vibrant, and
Yeah.
then when you take it off, it's all muted colors back again,
Yeah.
which I like the different concept of that. And then also the mechanic of like when you put on your glasses and you look at your phone compared to when you take off your glasses and look at your phone. Um, oh, also the phone, the text messages in the phone,
Yes.
especially with the emails, I cackled.
Yes. There's a lot of dialogue with the text messages and stuff. There's a lot of um content in here when it comes to story. Obviously for spoiler purposes, we ain't touch on everything. So we're gonna head into our final rating here. And of course, if you know when it comes to video games, we say buy it, wait for a sale, or skip it altogether. I'm going to give Date Everything a wait for sale, and that hurts me because I had so much hopes for this. But I'm gonna give it a wait for sale because yes, the voice acting's great. I like the original story, the setup, and the concept of it. But I feel like the game is lacking a little bit of depth in here. I would like to see a little bit more when we have the relationships or the relationships are built up, whether it's hating or being friends or relationship. I would at least, especially with a relationship, I would like to see a little bit more options here. I think having so much characters kind of was a little bit of a shot in the foot because you now have so many characters, it's hard to bring depth to each one of them. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to bring in more options and things to do, activities to do after you romance them. So it's a fun game. It's not terrible at all. It's a really fun game, but it needs a little bit more in the oven. It needs a little bit more depth for me to recommend it for full price.
I also give it a wait for it, but it's like it's on this tippy toes to buy it.
Yeah,
Kind of with the same thing what Justin was saying. I just feel that also too for a person, if this is their first visual novel game, because you know the hype about like all of these voice actors are in this game, you want to support and everything, which is great. But if this is your first one, this it can be overwhelming because there's so many options. I think for me, the mechanic that kind of annoyed me a bit was with when you have to gain like personality points in
yeah,
order to unlock certain things. Because in my first few hours of talking to certain objects and stuff, I wanted to say more, I have more of an interaction, but because I never gotten them to be in a friendship, love, or hate relationship, I never gotten those points. And so that can be a bit of a grind. And sometimes, like, you'll have an object hate you, and then you're like, oh, I could have said this with this option choice, but I didn't have the personality points to pull it
yeah,
off. So that one frustrated me just a bit there. Overall, though, aesthetically, I love the character designs. The music is good. Like some of those character designs, I'm like, I want to cosplay that one day. Um, I will the voice acting again, top tier. I mean, when you find out how many of your favorite voice actors are in this game, you'll be shocked. And they just seem to have such a good time with it. The Um, yeah, just for me, the mechanic of like the personality points, and then have some characters dialogue just be a little bit shorter. But and here's the caveat, right? Here's the devil on the shoulder. I also understand why the dialogue can be longer too. It's because it's based on the personality of the object. So if you're talking to like, say, a shower, they might be more long-winded because they're a shower. And usually we're in there for like sometimes some people are in there for like an hour. So there could be they could have also thought of that too. So sometimes I wish that the dialogue was a little bit swifter. Other than that, yeah, I say on a wait for it, on the tippy
yeah.
toes of buy it. For those of you who want like a number rating, I would say it's like an 8.5.
And I would give it like if you want a number, I'll give it a 7. Um, it like I said, it's a good game. It's fun. You're gonna have a lot of enjoyment with it, especially if you're an English dub fan. You watch anime like this is that audience who loves visual novels. You're gonna have fun with it. It's just it needs a little bit more depth for me. Especially the fact that you don't get to talk to the same character multiple times during the day. Like Ashley said, it takes too much to get those personality points. So it's basically, and that's in a way it's for you to do some replay value, but it needs some tweaking and it needs a lot. I would say it needs a little bit more depth. Yep, and we are going to wrap that up, folks. And this is Justin and Ashley from otakusgeeks.com. What do you think of Date Everything? Comment below, let me know. If you like what we do here, hopefully you earned your subscription. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. We'll catch you on the next one, folks. Later days.
Bye.